On this very day, 8 years ago, in this exact spot, I created the Lavender Town Theory, which I consider my first big break on YouTube. And every single year since then, I've made a follow-up video to remember that event. So for the 8-year anniversary, I decided this year to talk a bit about a few stories with the connection between 4chan and the Pokemon franchise. During the height of the Pokemon Go craze, there were a lot of weird occurrences happening on a daily basis surrounding the phenomenon. With millions of trainers from around the world leaving their houses to visit Pokestops, it was inevitable that shenanigans were sure to ensue. These included fights, armed robberies, injuries, and in some rare cases, children being exposed to creepy men, which caused an uproar from adults calling for bans on the game. You see, despite boomers continuously complaining that today's kids don't spend enough time outside, when young people finally had a game that made them get some fresh air, those same people immediately found a problem with it, since it was unsafe and put kids at risk of abduction, which can be seen demonstrated in this clearly legitimate social experiment by congressional candidate Joey Salads.
So today we're gonna find out and see how gullible kids are when it comes to the Pokemon Go game. This is a Dratini down there. I'm gonna go.
Really?
Yeah, I'll be there in a little bit.
Yo, man, where to?
I think it's down there somewhere. You you play Pokemon?
Yeah, man.
Wanna go on a hunt for Dratini? Let's go. Yeah, let's take the car real quick.
There had been a few reports of attempted kidnappings and creeps hanging around the game stops, but the one I want to discuss today is of Grant Thiel of Australia. Grant was really big in the Pokemon Go scene, so much so that he was an organizer of game meetups for his town. Not only this, but he excelled in the sport of laser tag, and not too surprisingly also liked browsing memes on that 4chan website. What you need to understand is that Grant saw himself as quite the online troll, with a penchant for causing havoc on the internet. So you might be asking what exactly he was doing that he found so entertaining. Well, his trolling expertise was compiling, as well as spreading cartoons depicting child pornography for the lulz, and swears that was the only reason he collected these pictures. Since Grant was such a pro memer, he couldn't just view and share these explicit images from the comfort of his own house, however. Oh no. He was so dedicated to this quote-unquote trolling, he had the pictures with him at work, which is where a colleague spotted his viewing habits, who wasn't as amused. Considering he was an organizer for a hobby popular with young children, local police soon collected evidence, arrested him, and had Grant charged. Grant thought he was in the clear since they were just cartoons, but it turns out that was still illegal in Australia, so he ended up pleading guilty to the crime and faced 2 months in prison. Though that was soon dropped as the judge ruled that his time in custody and in court counted as time served. So to all you pro gamers / laser tag players out there, maybe you should think twice before having CP on your work computer. Leaking of news in the gaming industry has been a problem since the early days of the internet. Nothing destroys a game company's big reveal at an expensive event like some dude with unreleased low-res footage quickly slapping it on YouTube the day prior. And one of the most well-known places people are known to dump said info is the image board 4chan. With its popularity and anonymous nature, anyone can go on there and reveal insider information with little risk of being caught. The downside to this is that literally anyone can dump insider information, so it's extremely difficult to identify who should be believed and who is merely trolling for the fun of it. One of the most popular series known to be linked to the site is, you guessed it, Pokemon. The interesting thing is that despite Game Freak being a Japanese developer, the primarily English-based message board gets a lot of this leaked Pocket Monster info, including for the soon-to-be-released Pokemon Sword and Shield versions. One example of this is that in a thread accompanied by a picture of Ben Affleck, it states, "Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing are new dynamics that will supersize Pokemon in specific areas. Gigantamaxing is different from Dynamax as it changes what the Pokemon looks like. Some Pokemon, like Farfetch'd, will get regional evolutions like Sirfetch'd." While most scoffed at this post at first, people would later find out that these claims were 100% spot on. There would in fact be a mode that will create a gigantic version of one of your Pokemon, along with the name of a far-fetched evolution which, might I add, many assumed would never happen since the bird has been pretty much ignored since Gen 1. This on its own might seem impressive, but they only got those details out early by a few weeks. What if I told you that someone wrote an accurate prediction 5 years ahead of Sword and Shield's release? Well, that is exactly what happened in 2014 when one poster on 4chan wrote, "A haunted teacup that turns into a haunted teapot. Their names will be Entity and Poltergeist." Sounds good, right guys? Right? Fast forward to 2019 and the ghost-type Pokemon named Poltergeist was announced. Did this person see the future? Who knows, but this, along with multiple other leaks for Game Freak games that have wound up on 4chan over the years, makes it clear that someone with insider information is a big fan of the site. So there you have two little stories about 4chan and Pokemon, with me trying my best to bridge the gap. I know a lot of you aren't interested in video games, so I really have to work hard to keep this tradition going on this account. But for anyone who has been watching me since that original Lavender Town Theory video 8 years ago, I really want to thank you for sticking around. So until next year, thank you for watching.